Hi everybody, it's Jordy from Jordy Colours. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am doing a slightly different video for me. It's probably a style of video that you've seen lots of other people on lots of other channels do, but I just wanted to share how I go about choosing a colour palette for a page. So I'm going to be looking in this book, Moon Valley, but I think it's important to say that I don't use colour palettes for every page that I do. For example, in this book, Petit Poupée, I don't intend to use colour palettes because the characters in this book have set colours. So I would just like Google an image of Mulan and kind of get an idea of the colours that she wears. I know I would probably use some red and things on the pagoda because it is set in China and red is a lucky colour in China. I also know that, is it Mushu? I can't think of the cricket's name. They have colours. So I would just Google the images and figure out what colours to use based on that. So for books like this, I don't use a colour palette. Sometimes for like my Camellia Angel Cova books, for example, I wouldn't bother working out a colour palette. I would just kind of have fun with it and enjoy it. Not that I don't have fun when I use a colour palette, I do. But I use colour palettes for what I would consider more complicated pages. So for example, Moon Valley. So in this book, I did these 2 pages last month, and I'm super proud of these pages. I used colour palettes for each page, and I really, really like the effect. And I think possibly these are probably 2 of my favourite ever pages. I think I'm getting better at using the colour palettes and figuring out what works. But I like the fact that it gives a much more cohesive image and on a complicated, I mean, not that these are overly complicated pictures, but there's lots of different elements going on, and you could kind of go crazy with colors, but keeping it limited really helps the image and kind of focuses your attention on the important elements in the page. So for example, the little mouse here and the deer here. So I like to use colour palettes on these types of books, Hannah Karzon books, Malpamani Chattopadhyay books, Johanna Basford books, anything like that, which is, I would consider a little bit more complicated. Colour palettes really help me, and I kind of wanted to share how I use them by looking at these 2 pages. So this book, Moon Valley by Maria Trolle, is a project book. I am working through this book in order from front to back with the lovely Dabbler D on Instagram. And the next 2 pages we have to focus on are these 2. So we're trying to do 2 pages per month. So for these 2 pages, I mean, with these 2, I did them in different color palettes, but with these ones, I want to have the same color palette for both pages because to me, it's the same girl, it's the same butterflies, and the foliage is much the same, and the flowers and that sort of thing. So I'm going to use the same color palette for both these pages. I want them to look pretty much similar. So how I go about it, let me explain. I start by looking at the page that I want to colour. So I have 2 pages here, but they have similar elements. They both have butterflies, they both have the girl, they both have foliage and flowers. So they have similar elements. This one has a little bit more going on. You've got the trees, you've got the water, you've got the rocks and the stones. So there's a bit more going on. So I'm going to focus on this page to help me decide a colour palette for both of them. So the very first thing I do is I look at what I have going on. Now in this book, I want to keep my colours fairly realistic. I don't want to have, for example, like purple tree trunks. I want them to be brown. I want them to look naturalistic. I don't want them to look unusual. In something like Alien Worlds, for example, I would go crazy with colour. I would not worry about keeping things looking real, if that makes sense, because it's an alien world, so it doesn't have to look like an Earth world. But for this page, I do want to keep things looking naturalistic and not realistic, because the style is not particularly realistic and my colouring is not such that I can get it looking realistic, but I want to use those kind of natural colors, if that makes sense. So I look at my page and I think about one or two colors that I know I definitely want to use. So in the case of this page, I know that I want to have some sort of green for the foliage and the grass and that sort of thing. And I want some sort of blue, probably for the water and for the sky. So I'm looking for a color palette that has blue and green in it. So that kind of narrows down my selection, my choices, so that I don't have to go through every single one and say, well, it could do that, I could do that. I'm not a very decisive person, so narrowing my choices really helps me. So at this point, I would either then go, I have both the Sarah Renee Clark color cubes, and I also have the online version of the color cubes. So like a digital file version. So I can go to the digital file, and I can't show you because I use my phone for recording and it's on my phone. But you can go through and you can select the color palettes based on a particular color, and then you can narrow down the searches. But for the sake of the video, I'm going to start by going through the actual color cube, and we can look at them and rule them out as we go through. So I just have the color cube number 1 here. I do have number 2 as well, but for the sake of keeping the video a little bit shorter, I'm just going to use the color cube number 1, and there are plenty of choices in here. So as I look through, I look at the colors, I see it's got a green, it hasn't got a blue, so I'm going to discard it. I don't want that one. Same again. And I can quickly just flick through and decide which ones I think will work. Now this one does have green and blue, but it's got a lot of blue and not much of anything else. So I don't think that one's going to work either. Let's set it aside. Same with that one, that one. So I can kind of just flick through quite quickly and think about, okay, that one might work, that one won't. And I can kind of pop aside any that I think might work. Now again, this one we've got a couple of greens, we've got a blue, but I'm not feeling this really bright kind of summery palette, so I'm going to discard that one. And it's just a case of flicking through. Now, as I say, Sarah Renee Clark color cubes are a tool that I use quite regularly, but I realize that they're an expensive tool. I decided to splash out and buy these a couple of months ago, probably towards the end of last year or the start of this year. I can't remember when I got them. And I love them. I use them a lot and I really like them, but they are an expense and they're not a necessity. I really like having them that I can touch and hold and look at and compare colors to. But you can easily look on Pinterest and look for color palettes on Pinterest that you can print out on a piece of paper. So these are not a necessity. I use them, I really like them. They're one of my favorite tools, but it's not a necessity. So I just want to reassure you that you don't have to go the expense of buying these if you don't want to. There are plenty of online tools that you can use that are free, so you don't need to go to the expense. Okay, so again, I've got a blue and a couple of greens, but again, it's this quite bright, summery color palette, and I'm not quite feeling that at the moment. So I'm going to keep going. Again, it's the same sort of thing here, very bright primary colors. So I'm just, I don't know, it doesn't scream at me that it wants to be this page. Now I actually used this one recently on a different page, so I'm going to discard that one. And like I say, I just kind of flick through quite quickly and I think about what it is that I might want to use, and I can quickly discard the ones that I don't. Whoops. I try and keep them in order because I don't want to mess them all up, so I do try and keep them in order. But yeah, it's just quite a quick kind of flick through. When something catches my eye, I'll stop and have a look at it, have a think about it, and decide, oh, that could work. Okay, so something like this. I quite like this one. We've got two different greens, which would work quite nicely. We've got a blue, and then we've got this kind of, what color is that? Like a crimson red, purplish color. And then this kind of almost soft gray. This could work. So I'm thinking I could have the green, so like the lighter green for the grass and the bushes, the darker green for my foliage. The purpley crimson color could go and splashes on my flowers, perhaps to be used in the butterflies as well. I could have the dark blue on the water and this kind of grayish blue for the stones. I would have to introduce some neutral colors in form of the trees and like the girl and her hair, but this could work. This is a possibility. So I'm going to put that aside and I'm going to keep flicking through because it's not a done deal yet. I have to keep going and see which other ones I like. Now this is a really nice color palette, but I feel like there's probably a little bit too much blue and teal for this page. So I'm gonna keep going. I mean, all the color palettes are really nice. I love them all. And they're all perfect for different pages, but some of them I feel like aren't gonna be perfect for this page. So I'm gonna flick through and see what else I can find, see what else catches my eye. Let's keep going. So like, again, this is quite a good one, but I just feel like I need something for my butterflies, particularly for this other side of the page, which has got a lot of butterflies, and I don't feel there's anything quite bright enough for the butterflies on that page. So I'm gonna keep going. Okay, this one, we've got a green, we've got some teals, and then we've got some pinks. This could work. Again, so I'm thinking like the green for the grass and the bushes, maybe the tealy blue for some of the foliage, the lighter teal for the water. The pinks would be perfect for the butterflies and all the flowers. Again, I'd have to introduce a few neutral colors for my tree trunk and my girl, but she could possibly even have pink hair. So this one could be a possibility. I'm gonna pop that aside as well. Let's keep going and see what else we can come up with. Some of them you'll see I hesitate over for a few minutes and think, that could work, but then I decide no, I'll discard it. Right, so that's the kind of the first half of my color cubes. I'm gonna pop them back in the box and grab another pile to flip through. So what I like to do is to kind of end up with, I don't know, 3-4 different color palettes that I think I could use, and then make a decision based on that. So again, it's quite a dark mood. I don't really want a dark and moody kind of color palette. So yeah, I'm just thinking about my page, thinking about what will work, thinking about what won't work, and kind of taking it from there. And then when I have a few selected, I can kind of go back and have a look and think about which one I prefer the most. So you'll find that a lot of the kind of similar color palettes are all together. So like these are all kind of autumnal looking color palettes, and they're all together, which is kind of handy if you're looking for that sort of thing. That one's more of a wintry color palette. These are all quite dark, lots of blues, and then there's some kind of more monochromatic color palettes. Yeah, I'm gonna keep going. So you can see that some of them are just really easy to discard straight away, and you know, no, I'm not gonna use those ones. So, okay, we've gone through that little pile. Let's pop that back. Let's get the next pile out. So I tend to go through the entire color cube. I usually only use one. I have the two, but I usually just use one to make kind of a decision on, and I try and alternate them. So I'm using my color cube one for these two pages. I'll use my color cube 2 for the next pages I do. I'm thinking about that one. I'm gonna put it away. I kind of have to be a little bit ruthless, otherwise I just end up with too much choice. And as I say, I'm quite indecisive, so sometimes it's hard for me to kind of narrow things down. Oh, this one could be quite interesting. Yeah, okay, so we've got a couple of greens. We've got a yellower green, a more kind of tealy green. We've got this kind of turquoise color, so that would work for my foliage, my water. And we've got some of these brighter colors, which would be lovely on the flowers and the butterflies. So yeah, I'm gonna keep that one aside. Let's keep going. So basically the first thing I'm looking for when I look at the colors is a blue and a green. And if I don't have that, I can flip it over straight away and say, no, that's not gonna work. If I see a blue and a green, I'll stop and pause. This one is actually not too dissimilar to the one that I've already pulled out. The colors are a bit brighter and not quite as muted as I've got here. So the purple is darker and the pink is a lot more vivid. But other than that, fairly similar colors. I think I'll keep this one out and I'll pop this one away. Okay, this one's interesting. Again, we've got some greens or tealy greens. We've got this kind of tealy blue, and then we've got a couple of nice brighter purples. So again, that could work. I'm going to keep that one out. And we've got another one that's fairly similar, not too different. Again, we've got the greens. We've got a much kind of darker blue here. Blue, black. It's almost black. I'm going to keep that one and I'm going to put that one away. Okay, let's keep going. So you can see the process that I use and kind of how I narrow things down. I just want to pick that one back up again. So yeah, I'm not really, again, we've got blue and a green, but I'm not really feeling the other colors for this page. I feel like it's, yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I just know kind of roughly what I want, but I need a bit of guidance, if that makes sense. Let's keep going and see what else we can come up with. Okay. Yeah, this is kind of interesting. So again, we've got some greens and some blues. We've got almost like it is a black, I think this time, definitely. Yeah, this is a page of real contrast. That could be quite interesting. I'll keep it out and think about it. Too many browns on that one, I think. Okay, so that's the end of my first color cube. So there's 250 cards in each cube, so 500 in total if you have both of them. I think they only come in packages with both included. Okay, so I've gone through the entire thing. I have 5. So I have 5 that I've narrowed it down to. So now I need to think again. I need to look at it again and think, okay, which one is going to work best for my pages? So I'm kind of veering away from these two. I just feel like they're a little bit too dark and moody, and I want something more bright and colorful for these pages with these beautiful butterflies. So I'm going to pop those two aside. So now I've got three to think about. Okay, so let's look at each one, and what I think about when I look at each one is I think about where I'm going to put each of the colors on my pages. So for this one, I think I would have the lighter green as my grass and my bushes, this kind of tealy green for my foliage. I would have the purple and the pink. They would be used for my flowers and my butterflies in some form, and possibly the pink for her hair as well, which could be quite interesting. And then obviously the teal blue for the water, and something similar for the sky, maybe a different shade. Now the helpful thing with the color cubes is that you've got 3 different shades of each color on the back, so it helps you figure out a lighter, medium and a dark for each color combination. And the great thing about this as well is that you can add a darker color or a lighter color to expand that range and give you more options. So for example, I could have a lighter turquoise and use the lighter turquoise, this one as my medium tone and this one as my darker tone for a sky, and then use the darker one and then have a darker one after that, and this one as my water, so that I could create 2 different colors, 2 different shades, and use them to keep my page looking cohesive, but have more of a, keep still using the same colors. Does that make sense? I'm going to show you that a little bit in a minute anyway. But yeah, so this is, I quite like this one. This is looking like a good possibility. Let's keep that there. Let's have a look at this next one. So this one, again, is a bit darker and moodier. Looking at it now, I feel like the blue is too dark for this page. I want it to be a daytime scene. I don't want it to be night. So I'm thinking this is a little bit too dark for this page. So I'm going to pop that aside. Okay, that leaves me with this one. I do really like this one, but looking at it again now, I'm feeling like it's a little bit too narrow. I've basically got teals, a green and pinks, and it could work. I could have the green for my grass and my foliage. I could use this color for the leaves, could use this for the water and the sky. Then I could use the 2 pinks to color the flowers. That could work. Flowers and the butterflies. So yeah, that could work. That could be quite nice. So I need to decide between these 2. I think just because I envisaged, I can never say that word, I envisaged purple somewhere on these pages, I'm going to go with this one. So I've narrowed it down, I've picked my color palette. The next thing I need to do is figure out what pencils, what mediums I'm going to use that match this color palette. So I'm going to pause here, I'm going to put my color cube away, and I'm going to grab some pencils and things. Okay, so in this book I've been using my Prismacolors, and I do like using my Prismacolors in this book, so I'm going to continue that with these pages. So I'm just going to pop the book aside, and I have my Prismacolors here in my case, and I'm just going to open it up, and I'm going to pull out my swatch chart, which I keep inside the case, and it does get a bit messy, but it's not the end of the world. I'm going to grab a piece of scrap card or paper, whatever I've got to hand. This is a bit mucky. I've been using it as a blotting sheet in between pages, but it will be fine for what I want it for. Let me zoom you back in again. Because all I'm going to do is work out what pencils I can use for these colors. So now that I have my color palette chosen, it's time to choose the actual mediums that I'm going to use. So as I said before, the great thing about these color cubes is they've got these kind of boxes on the back which have a lighter, medium and a dark shade of each of the colors in the palette. And I have my swatch chart here. This is one that I printed. It comes from my Colourful Country Life. She has a ton of these swatch charts on her website. They're all free. You can print them off and download them. And they're perfect, and she has them set out in color families, so thank you, Karen, because you make life so much easier. So what I'm going to do is go through each color and try and figure out a color combination that I can use to match these colors on my color card. So I'm starting with this mint color, and I'm kind of having a look, and the great thing about this color cube is that I can hold it up to my colors and try and figure out which ones work the best. Now, I don't have a huge selection of colors that are exactly the same as this one. So this could be a little bit problematic. It's not going to be the exact same color combination, but that's okay. We can make it work. So I'm thinking this is a bit too green. It needs to be a bit bluer. So I'm thinking I can use these and kind of combinations of these. So let's pull out those pencils. So I've got Cobalt Turquoise, which is here. I've got Parrot Green, I've got Aquamarine, and I've got Light Aqua. So these could work in various combinations. So Cobalt Turquoise, I struggle to say that, would be the darkest shade. I haven't really sharpened these pencils, but it's okay for what I'm doing. Then I would go in, I'd probably go in with Aquamarine as my mid shade. And then maybe a light aqua. So it's definitely more blue than this color combination, but I think it's the closest I'm going to get based on these pencils. I could of course go to a different pencil set and see if I can find something that matches perfectly. I may do that, but I'm going to keep these ones out for now. I've also got Parrot Green in there, which is a little bit greener, so I could try a different color combination with the Cobalt Turquoise, the Aquamarine, and then the Parrot Green. So I'm doing this quite roughly. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just kind of figuring out what works and what doesn't. So that could be another color combination that I use. I could even add the light aqua as a lighter shade at the end. So I can use these 4 pencils in different combinations to get some different colors. So I'm going to keep them out to the side. Let's look at my next color, which is Cali Green. So this is a more, I would say, a true green. It's even got maybe a slight bit of yellow in it. That's all the greens I've got on this page, yeah. So let's have a look what's going to be the closest match. This is kind of almost veering towards an olive green. This one is actually called Cali Green. That could work. So let's have a look at Cali Green. Maybe Cali Green, maybe a bit of grass green, maybe true green, and maybe light green. Let's have a look at those. Cali Green, true green, what else did I say? Light green and grass green. I think my grass green is very tiny. It's teeny tiny. What color is that? Grass green 909. Yeah, I'm on a teeny tiny pencil. I have got another one there if I need it. Okay, sorry about that. I was merrily chatting away and I realized eventually that my storage was full on my phone, so I had to go and delete some stuff and start again. So we were on to the greens, which is this color combination that I'm looking at here. So I've pulled out some pencils. I have pulled out my teeny tiny little grass green here, so I'm gonna scribble that down there. Then I have true green, and then I have light green, and just to top it off I have gray green light, just for a really pale green. I like to try and have 3 or 4 different colors. Now I don't know if that's maybe too light. Maybe I'll try pale sage just to see if that's going to be any better. I think that's a bit too yellowish, so I'll stick with the gray green light. It's just to add a little bit of kind of lightness where I need to, and I can maybe use just the lighter shades for one section of my green and then the darker combination for a darker part. So I'm going to keep those aside. That's my greens. Again, they're not exactly the same, they're slightly different, but I'm close enough. It's okay. Okay, let's look at these orchid colors. I think these are going to be quite tricky. What have we got? So I'm thinking this lavender is quite a good match. Maybe the dahlia purple for the darker color. It's a bit brighter, but it could work. So maybe dahlia purple, maybe lavender. I'm going to struggle with any other shades. Let's see. Okay, let me pull a couple of pencils and we'll give it a whirl and see what we get. So let's go with the dahlia purple. I'm going to pull out this dark purple as well and see what that looks like. I'm going to pull out the lavender. Now I do still have lavender. It's obviously an older set I have here. I've had them for quite a few years, so I do still have lavender. I have a new set sitting there waiting to be opened. When these little ones get too small, I'll have to open my new set. I can't buy them open stock here, so I ended up just buying a whole new set just to kind of have on standby if I needed it. Can I get away with something else? Do I want to just try these three? I'm going only to be colouring small areas with the purple and the pink, so I'm going to be colouring like the butterflies and the flowers, which are tiny, so I don't need a huge range of colours for those areas. So let's try the dark purple, the dahlia purple, and the lavender. And I think that will work fine. So I'm going to pop those aside. Let's have a look now at this blush color. Oh, my pencils are rolling. My blush color, which is kind of it's almost like a rosy reddish pink, isn't it? Sometimes it's easy to forget about these kind of brownish reds, but sometimes they work quite nicely with these kind of colors. So I'm thinking maybe the Tuscan red could work. Let's have a look what else we've got. The mahogany red. And then I'm kind of struggling with this combination. The pink is close. So let's think about a combination we could use. Okay, let's see if I can film this without getting interrupted anymore. Right, okay, so I'm thinking mahogany red, I'm thinking pink, maybe pink rose to go a really light color, and then maybe the Tuscan red to throw in there as well. So let's pull those pencils and see how we get on. So I can never find them when I'm looking for them. Right, mahogany red, that's going to be over here. So I've got mahogany red. I want pink and pink rose. So here is pink rose, here is pink. And what was the other one I said? Tuscan red, wasn't it? Tuscan red. So let's see if I can find that one. There it is. Okay, so let's kind of play around with these and see what they end up looking like. So I've got the Tuscan red first. Let's just chuck it in here. And it's good because you can kind of see how they're going to work together as well. So Tuscan red, I've got my mahogany red. I think those work quite nicely together. I've got my pink. I feel like it's going to be a little bit too light in comparison, but we can maybe make it work. I'm obviously not blending these or, you know, doing anything much to them to make them work together. I'm just kind of seeing if they're going to sit nicely side by side. Yeah, I think I'm going to remove this one and I'm going to try Deco Peach. And I need to see, maybe I can throw hot pink in there as well. I'm just kind of thinking of on my feet here and trying to see what might work and what might not. So let's do it again down here. So I've got my Tuscan red, my mahogany red. These two are quite similar. There's not a huge amount of difference between those, but one is slightly darker. Let's try popping the hot pink in there. I don't know if it's going to be too pink. Don't know. Then I've got my rose. Yeah, I feel like that hot pink is maybe too pink. And then I've got Deco Peach. So I think I need to get rid of that hot pink. Let's pull that out. Let's try again. So I've got my Tuscan red, my mahogany red. Again, I'm not doing this very carefully or, you know, taking my time over it. I'm just kind of chucking it in there. And my Deco Peach, which is a really pale color. This isn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I think I can make it work. I think I can make this work for sure. I'm just having a look at my swatch chart again and just thinking if there's any kind of different combination that I could use. I'm gonna pull out, I think where it is. I have done the My Colourful Country Life color combination. So again, My Colourful Country Life is awesome. And she has these color combinations, and I downloaded this chart from her, and she did a whole series of color combinations. She's just, this is for the Prismacolors. She's done them for the Polychromos. I think she's gonna do them for other pencils as well. But I often refer to this as well as a tool. So I will look at, you know, the colors that I'm veering towards, which are like Tuscan red, mahogany red, pink, and see how she's put those colors in anywhere, or if she's put them in anywhere. So let's have a look. She's got this color combination here, magenta, pink, blush pink, and Deco Peach. That could work, and that's quite a nice combination. I quite like that one. Any others that I could use? So I'm looking at that and I'm thinking that could work quite nicely. So, did I have the blush pink out? I can't remember. Okay, so let's pull those colors. So, what did I say, magenta? No, I'm never going to be able to find them in my blush pink. Blush pink. Deco Peach I've already got out. And magenta. Where is magenta? There it is. Okay, so I'm going to put this away again. Let's have a play around with those colours and see if that works better. And maybe I can throw in the darker colours that I had here as well. So let's try that out. So here's my Tuscan red. Here is my mahogany red. It might not work, but we'll see. Here is my magenta. Okay, that might work okay. Then I have my pink, my blush pink, and my Deco Peach. Okay, so that's quite cool. I quite like that. And again, I can mix and match different colors. So I've got 6 pencils, so I can just use the darker ones to have a darker pink combination. I can use the lighter ones to have a lighter pink. I can use the middle ones to have kind of that mid-range. So that's cool. I like that. I'm going to keep those aside. My final color then is the turquoise. So I've got to remember that I've kind of used a bit of a turquoisey color combination up here. So this might end up being my turquoise, and I might have to look for some other pencils that will work for my mint. So I might put my Prismacolors away and go and have a look at my other sets and see if I've got any colors that match this, because in this set of Prismacolors I don't have anything that really comes close to these. Sorry, I'm showing that off camera. That really comes close to these greens. So I want to go and find something that works more aligned with this, and then I can use these ones that I've pulled out here for the turquoise that I've already got selected. So bear with me. Okay, so I've been having a play around with some of my green pencils, and I've come up with a combination that I think will work. It's a mixture of Arteza, well, 1 Arteza pencil and 2 Prismacolors. So I have, for my Arteza pencils, I have Fern Green. Let me show you up here. So I have Fern Green, which would be my darkest color. I then have Cali Green from my Prismacolors. And I have Sap Green Light from my Prismacolors. So again, this is not a perfect match. You can see it's very different, but I think it will work with the colors that I have. So I've made a right mess of my little swatch chat here. So let's start again. So I am going to do my colours this way so we can see them all next to each other side by side. So this is my green or mint combination that they've called for on the colour cube. Then I have my Cali green combination. Like I say, I'm just going to pop these side by side so that we can see how they look together. And I'm being quite messy about this stage. I'm not worrying about blending or making sure everything matches up. I'm just kind of shoving it down. My orchid combination, which is dark purple, the dahlia purple, and the lavender. Then I have my pink combination. I've got 6 pencils for my pink combination, so I have a huge selection to choose from. So I've got the Tuscan red, I have mahogany red, I have magenta, I have pink, I have blush pink, and I have deco peach. So a nice selection of pinks. And my final combination is my turquoises, which I have cobalt turquoise. I have, oh, which one came next? This one, I think, aquamarine. Then I have parrot green and light aqua. Okay, so these are the colors as per my color cube. See them here side by side. Hopefully you can see that. So again, this green is not a perfect match. It's not ideal, but if I look at my page, I think I'm just going to be using those greens on these leaves. So it's not going to be a huge part of my page, and I think it will work for the small amounts, the small areas that I want it for. So I think these are going to work nicely. So that is how I'm going to select my colors. Let me draw a box quickly around them so you can see exactly what I'm using. There we go. So I'm all set. I have my pencils pulled. I know exactly what color combinations I'm going to use. All that's left is to color the page, and it's going to be super quick and easy now because I've already mapped out where I'm going to use all of my colors. So again, I'm going to be using the turquoise for the water and for the sky in some shape or form. I'm going to be using the pink. I'm probably going to use the pink on her hair. I'm going to use it probably on these little toadstools here, probably on the little lily flowers and these little flowers around the edge of the pond. The purple I think I'm going to use for the butterflies, and I really want those butterflies to stand out, so I'm just going to keep, that's the only kind of pop of purple I'm going to have. I'm going to use the Cali green for my bushes and my grass down the front here, and the mint color for all of my leaves. I will introduce a brown combination for my trees and some sort of warm grey for the stones, and then obviously a flesh tone for my girl of some description. Then on this page, it's going to be the same thing. So the girl is going to have the same color combination of hair, which I think I'm going to use this blush pink color for. The butterflies are all going to be this gorgeous orchid color. There's a couple of little flowers in here as well, which I will do the same pink as I've done the hair. And then all the leaves, I think I will probably use the Cali green combination or maybe the mint. I'm going to see how that works out on this page, and then think about how I'm going to tackle it over here, and then I'll have the turquoise for the background of this piece. So yeah, it's that's it. That's the way I do it, and I hope that helps a little bit. But I do just find it easy now. It's almost like mindless coloring. I know exactly which pencils I'm going to use where, and I can just go ahead and color the page and not stress about what colors are going to come next and what I'm going to do next. I've already planned it out, I've mapped it out, I have my color combinations all sorted and ready to go. And yeah, that is how I tackle a page like this. So I hope that was a little bit helpful for you. I hope you enjoyed this one. I'm not going to show any of the colouring on screen because I think I've babbled on enough. But I just wanted to share how I use these colour cubes. Again, let me reiterate, you do not need to go to the expense of buying these. I really love them and I use them a lot, and I'm very happy with having them as a tool in my arsenal. But you can, of course, just search on Pinterest and find things and print them off, and save yourself some money if that's what you prefer. But any kind of colour palette that you choose, this method kind of works in the same way, and I hope it's helpful. Thank you so much for joining me today. Sorry for all the interruptions. I hope you have a lovely day and have plenty of colouring time. Thanks for joining me, everybody. Take care.